Mary Speaks God's Grace Bible Study. I pray others truly enjoy today's Bible study and they get something out of it. So as always, it's going to be a long one. We're going to be going over a couple of chapters today. I hope everyone enjoys herself. Get your coffee, get your tea, and let's get into our Torah, Tanakh, and history study. Thank you all for watching this video, and let's get into today's Torah, Tanakh, and history study. The last synagogue in Harlem. It's a strange phenomenon. Somehow there's always a minyan. Jacob Mazel, rabbi of the last congregation of Jews in Harlem, sighed as he looked across his tiny flock. It's a miracle almost, he said. If someone were to leave this minyan, or God forbid die, the whole place would fall apart. None of the worshippers of the congregation of Tekva Israel in Harlem on the east side of 112th Street, between Lexington and the 3rd Avenues, remembers when the congregation was founded. Professor Jeffrey Gorak of the Yeshiva University, who has written extensively about the Harlem Jewry, believes that the sanctuary in the 24-foot wide building, 5-story high building was made around 1910, when Harlem's Jewish population was estimated to be about 100,000. And it was only second in population to the community of the United States after Manhattan's Lower East Side. At that time, large synagogues lined the Lexington Avenue and 116th Street. Businessmen, office workers, storekeepers, and garment workers and manual laborers who had escaped the crowded Lower East Side filled Harlem's synagogues. They came to the institutional synagogue to hear the inspiring teachings of Rabbi Herbert S. Goldstein, who was among the first English-speaking rabbis in New York, and to hear the sweet voice cantor of the cantor Joseph Rosenblatt. He was paid an astonishingly $2,400 per year by the congregation of Ohab Zedek of Harlem. Many of Harlem's Jews were prosperous. Their thriving synagogues sponsored speakers and dances and social clubs of and for youth groups. Harry Rosendorf, 86, a resident of his Hebrew home of the aged in Riverdale, remembers his Harlem neighborhood as 100% Jewish. Harlem's Jewish population grew to about 178,000 during World War I. Many of the families were doubled up in apartments. But the housing construction curtailed during the war in Harlem's was bursting at the seams. At the end of the war, construction began again, along with a new subway line. The Jewish Harmonites, as they were once called, moved to the newer apartment buildings in Washington Heights and along the Grand Concourse of the White Plains Road and across the East River to the Bay Ridge and Bensonhurst and Flatbush in Austria and Jackson Heights in the Long Island City. Soon, many other types and other cultures moved into the community, replacing the Jews. And by 1930, fewer than 25% of the Jews lived in Harlem that once were. Synagogues sold their buildings to churches and church groups, and many of those churches and church groups still remain to this day. What followed was what one rabbi called a drift of our congregants to the newer neighborhoods. A few Jews of the congregation of Tekva Israel remain. Services are held at Tekva Israel Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. The synagogue pews are seats about 200 persons on the main floor and about 100 or more in the now closed-off area in the women's gallery. Through the harsh fluorescent lighting, many of the beautiful carvings in the wood and of the Holy Ark are hidden. But what is not hidden are the cracked walls and the cracked ceiling, or the water leaks that are leaking through the walls and the pits and the bare wood floors. The benches are covered with boxes of unused sidars and many tanochs. The congregation, with about 25 members, does not need many sidars or Torahs or tanochs. The scene is reminiscent of photographs of run-down shtetls and synagogues of Eastern Europe. One recent Sunday morning, while 9 men prayed at the front of the synagogue, Becky Shapiro, an elderly daughter of the former sexton of Tekva Israel, set up for breakfast for the worshippers in the rear. She has been caring for this synagogue since 1936. She says that God alone pays her wages. She does most of the cleaning herself and hires neighborhood women to help her with the heavy lifting. She manages to keep the main floor relatively clean, but the upper 4 stories she claims are inaccessible and a mess. After the services ended, 9 men drifted to the back of the synagogue to enjoy their breakfast of Italian bread, cream cheese, and sardines. Half filled was a bottle of whiskey that was about 2 years old. According to Jacob Godnick, unofficial president of Tekva Israel, the members there do not drink much. Much of the conversation revolves around real estate and produce and many businesses. Some of the members stay in Harlem because they own apartments in this area and they live there. 69-year-old Mayor Grossman, a bachelor who lives in his own apartment, and he owns a hardware store in Harlem. He lives there and he has few problems with the tenants. Some pay their rent and some don't. He often takes meals to the Senior Citizen Center and spends much of his time caring for his 4 dogs and analyzing racing carts. Ruben Kogal, an elderly man with beautiful bright blue eyes, lives with his wife of over 50 years in a rooming house of their own on the East Harlem. He has few problems. He says it can be a bit of a rough neighborhood that is predominantly Hispanic, but he feels that the neighbors respect him. Larry, who happens to be one of his good friends, is one of those Hispanic neighbors. Larry is 50 years old. He's wearing an earring in his left ear, and he quickly agrees with his good friend. Larry is born of Spain, a gypsy heritage, and he occasionally accompanies Mayor Grossman to the synagogue. Larry happens to be a Christian, but he feels that he knows that the Jewish people are the people that share his Christ and his God. He knows that the people of Israel are the true people of the only living God. Other people have stayed in the neighborhood to be near to the businesses and around the Park Avenue Market, the Marketa. Jacob Godnick explained that the contributors of the Jewish merchants often contribute to the congregation and the financial security of the synagogue. That was until the market fire of July 1977, when many of the merchants gave up their businesses and some moved out of town. The synagogue's financial position has been precarious since then. Tekva Israel charges dues, but not many can afford to pay. Our biggest contributor is the eldest member, a 92-year-old man, Godnick said. One of those who works around the market is 75-year-old Sam Spiegel. He owns a wholesale produce business on the East 105 Street and lives with his daughter on East 107th Street. He drives his truck to the Hunts Point Market each morning at 2 a.m. to buy merchandise. I'm still here. I'm good. I'm good at driving a truck, Spiegel says. An assistant helps him load and unload produce. Another man known to the members as Pee-wee is the youngest of all the group. He appears to be no more than 50 years old. Pee-wee owns a dairy business and a dairy market, and he is active in the Merchants Association. For these reasons, he says he lives in this area and he will continue to live in the area. The members are reluctant to talk about the future of their community. Sam Davis, an unofficial cantor and philosopher of the congregation, has two important reasons for staying in his 5-room apartment on East 98th Street on the fringes of Harlem. Davis walks to Takva Israel rather than to the closer congregation on the East 90s so the million of the Takva Israel can continue. In addition, his wife and him often host the Orthodox Jew who are forbidden to travel on the Shabbat. But they want to visit their relatives that are nearby at Mount Sinai Hospital over the weekend. Godnick moved out of the neighborhood 7 years ago, but he continues to attend services at Takva Israel. They don't know how long the synagogue will live, he says. No one does, Spiegel says. When the others had left, Miss Shapiro agreed. If we knew what was gonna be the end, we would have started out in the beginning. This place is our cemetery. This is the last synagogue in Harlem, and in this, it has been remembered. Of the Most High, ever-loving, living God, I hope others truly got something out of this Bible study. I hope this Bible study has blessed others and enriched others and maybe increased us in our wisdom and our knowledge with Hashem. I pray each and every one of us get a Torah, get a Tanakh, read and study and engage with Hashem in our own personal time and deepen our relationship with Him. Please remember to like, heart, subscribe, or share. You can always subscribe to our blog. Go to our website, mariespeaksgodsgrace.live, because we serve a living God. You can get our emails from there, and we will not spam your email address. 100%. Keep up to date with us on our social media. If you would like, we like to share what we're interested in, maybe something that's inspiring, maybe something that we're working on, increasing in our knowledge in. That's always fun. Or a new book. Hello. Anyhow, I hope others enjoy the Bible study. I hope others have been taking time together and just increasing in our relationship with our merciful Hashem. So, like, heart, subscribe, and share. And until next time, we will see each other.
May Hashem bless you. May Hashem keep you. May we all be forever written in the book of life.